Today I'm going to show how to record a simulator session in MyFlightbook. And a simulator session gets entered just like any other flight. The only difference is that the aircraft used for the flight is a simulator, not an actual flying machine. But in every other way, it is just like an aircraft. So the first place to start is to add a simulator to your list of aircraft. And you do that on the website by going under the aircraft tab to My Aircraft and then clicking Add an Aircraft. If you're using the iOS app or the Android app, you go to your list of aircraft and there's a new button that you can use to add new aircraft. As usual, the first thing that you need to do is to pick the model. And there are two ways you can go here with a simulator. The first way is you can type in, for example, Frasca, which is the brand of the simulator, the company that makes the simulator, and the model of the simulator that they make. Or you might do, say, a Redbird. There's a whole bunch of these in the system, and the nice thing about that is that they're flagged as being simulator only, so it won't let you create a registered tail number for a simulator. What I generally prefer, though, is actually to go in the other direction, and it's totally a matter of preference. But if you're emulating a Cessna 172, then pick a Cessna 172. That's totally fine. And then what you can do is here where it says aircraft or training device, there's a drop down. And here's where you specify, is this a real aircraft? And when it's a real aircraft, you can see that you'll be able to put in a tail number, or make it anonymous if you want. But or it can be an uncertified simulator. Think Microsoft Flight Sim, something where it doesn't really count for anything. And the system will then know not to count any flight. If you want to record your flight simulator, your Microsoft Flight Simulator flights, that's fine. But the system will know not to count the approaches or the landings. An FTD, where the approaches and holding procedures will count. A full flight simulator where you can actually even count landings under the appropriate circumstances, or an aviation training device. And whichever one of these you pick, you'll get an assigned tail number, and it begins with SIM, short for sim, and that's good as both a mnemonic, but it also, there's no country where the tail numbers begin with SI, so it doesn't conflict. And you'll see that, in this case, it's C-172-5. So it does bear some resemblance to the model of aircraft being emulated. And if I choose a different capability, it'll get a different pseudo sim tail number. So here I can put this in as an FTD. Now, for logging of instrument approaches, 6157C had been very, very complicated and distinguished an FTD and a full flight simulator and an ATD. That is getting rewritten, and as of November 26th, 2018, you can mix and match all of those, and so the distinction becomes a lot less important after that date. But you can still designate which one it is. So here, I'm going to add this as an FTD. I'm going to say Add Aircraft. And now we can see, here it is added to my logbook. So now, to record a flight, quote unquote, in the FTD, all I need to do is go to my logbook and say New Flight. I specify the date of the flight. I pick the sim, and it's already in here. And I can put in whatever details are appropriate. So it's just like any other flight in that regard. There are two differences, though, to note. One is that generally you leave the total time and the PIC time empty. And that's because in most circumstances, you can't count your sim time as total time. You can only count the ground sim. Now, towards certain ratings, sim time can count as a substitution for total time, and MyFlightbook will correctly substitute your ground sim time up to the limit for the rating in question. But if you were to add total time here, that would add to your ASEL time, because a Skyhawk is, of course, airplane single engine land. So you generally shouldn't do that. Now, you're able to, because there are scenarios under which that's actually allowed. For full flight simulators, under certain regimes, you're allowed to count that as time and type. So I do allow it, but generally you're going to put the time of the session in the ground sim field, not the total time field. The other difference is you're supposed to log the serial number of the device that you use, or the otherwise identify the device that you use. Now you'll notice there's one SIM C1725 in the system, and so if you fly 6 different FTDs that are all emulating a C172, they'll all use the same tail number, and that reduces clutter in your aircraft list. But what you can do is, if you go into your property list, I'm just going to search here for the word training. There's a property called Simulator Training Device Identifier. And if you pick that property and add it to your property list, then you can put in the serial number of AB123 blah 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 of the actual device that you use for a given flight. And that's really all you need to do. The system does know that an FTD approach and hold count towards your instrument currency, that any landings you record only count if it's in a full flight simulator. And if it's in an ATD, currently it'll use the 61.57C3 rules for an ATD. But otherwise, it's just like any other flight.